Alright guys, such comic again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Drama hitting the timeline last night with Shotzzy calling out the CDL for a controversial tweet they put on the timeline last night comparing the old OpTic team and the new OpTic team in terms of their communication. This has echoes of many of the other controversial moments that have either come out of the league themselves or other teams over the last few years. Shotzzy understandably frustrated. Should the league be getting involved on this level, especially as arguably they should be impartial to the sport? Very much interested your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Lots to get into today. Firstly, we saw some of the footage of this, I think, in yesterday's video. I think we saw this video already, but if you guys didn't see it, this is some of the behind-the-scenes stuff from, well, as you guys can see on the wall right about here, the Mercedes-Benz Kitchener Waterloo luxury suites is what that says. Yeah, so here you go. These are the suites that are going to be available out there in Kitchener for the World Championship. This is one of the views of what it's going to look like. So you know, obviously they're getting everything ready and setting things up. They also recorded a bit of a podcast, right? I love how ghetto this podcast setup is, right? They've just got some chairs, they're sticking out on the ice or whatever, and then they've got the cables just running back and forward. I think we actually had a better shot of that right at the starter. Yeah, here you go. So I thought it was pretty nice to see. I guess we'll see this content come out in due course as well. We've talked about Kenny a lot over the last few days. I think it's been a nice story, really, that Kenny is feeling better as an individual. It seems that way anyway. He seems happier, seems more content with these guys. And look, I just thought it was an interesting idea that Kenny's out here playing Monopoly with his boys, with his team, right? Because he says, obviously a Monopoly game, it's not a quick game, right? So as Kenny says, winning 3 Monopoly games in one day, got to be a world record, no? And Estriel says, bro, you're literally the banker. We know you're up to no good. Drazah says, guys never changed, always cheating. And then Estriel, they played another game, presumably, when he wasn't the banker, and he got him out of the game real quick. But just the idea that Kenny's sitting down playing Monopoly with his teammates for hours a day, I just think is a pretty nice sign. I mean, you see this with the Boston team. I really liked it about the Boston team in Dallas. When you're walking around the venue and stuff, Boston were there in Challengers Pit or in the main venue or walking around the venue as the full team of 4. There was no coach there was no content people or whatever recording stuff, not at that time anyway. It was just Snoopy with Awakening, with Cammy, with Purge. They're all chilling, all hanging out together, all, they look like a team, right? They look like an actual team. And I think that there's certain teams in the league that aren't really teams. They're just players for the same organization. Feels to me that Rocker are an actual team, and I think that takes you a long way, even as long as you've got the talent to start things up as well. Now, we talked about the potential of running back some old man 8s. Yesterday, Octane and X were getting into it about BO3. Clay says, all right, if we want to do it, what could we play? What old CODs could we actually play? Now, you could play Cold War, probably. Better game than maybe it gets credit for. That's an option. Do I want to see Cold War again? Not really. I'd prefer to go back in the day even further. So Clay says, I really want to explore some old man 8. Kick it in TeamSpeak like the old days. Think it could actually be really fun to get a lot of older players involved that you don't see around the community much anymore, which I think is absolutely true. So Hitch says, all right, let's make this happen. BO3 is the only old school COD game. Oh no, we don't have to play Black Ops 3, do we? Let's go. That can be played safely on PC without downloading third-party programs, because if you want to play BO2, you need Plutonium, and I know that they rolled it out for some other things as well. And that's maybe okay, and to be fair, works very effectively, but, there's maybe some players, it's easier just to download the game and play it, right? Sometimes BO3 can be sketchy as well. I'd recommend an old man league on MWR or Cold War, but some men don't want to play S&D only, so it's looking like probably Cold War. Almost had funding for it last year, was 3 rounds deep, and then they vanished. Would love to do something, though, if we can get funding. I'll set everything up, schedule, trophies, payout, etc. People want to see it. So, this would be a mega prospect if this could even happen, right? It's not really something that I was thinking about, because I'm sure Clay was thinking, I'll just get the boys together, play some old man 8, maybe throw in $20 each or whatever, and have a couple of fun series with it. But you could make it a proper series, right? If you get funding for it, you could have, trophies, right? A proper schedule and teams playing on certain days. And then you'd have a champion, kind of like what we did with the BPL. So if you win, you get points. If you lose points. And then, of course, you play with different teams. And over the stretch of an entire month or whatever, then there's going to be a champion, right? Like an individual champion across all that time frame. So, look, I'd love it to be BO3, obviously. I think many of the pros would probably agree. MWI is cool as well, but, there's only so much of that I can watch, to be honest. And I'd watch Cold War, but I wouldn't be locked into watching Cold War. That's just my opinion. Obviously, unbiased. you guys know all about that. Quickly on paulX, he's obviously off the Minnesota rocker now. Kenny's in, we talked about that a couple of minutes ago. He's considering his future, right? Because if you're Paul, he went down to Challengers last year. He actually killed it in Challengers last year, grinded real hard, you know, made his way back to the Pro League, got his opportunity, and then, well, it didn't work out, right? He went to Rocker, pretty much got slammed the whole time. Now he's back to Challengers. So for paulX, what are his chances of getting another spot? I mean, it's not impossible, but it's difficult to imagine that Paul's come back. I'm sure that there's going to be many of players in the league and certainly, you know, coaches and things of that ilk that will say, you know what, lots of these guys this year, we recycled them, you know, in future we want to take some more chances on young talent because, you know, it's been a discussion of the last couple of years of players who obviously are in challenges getting picked up, and then maybe the last couple of seasons it's been maybe more so older names getting recycled again. And I think the league may move away from that because there are some talented players down there in challenges that haven't got a shot before. You know, Lunarz obviously has come in this year and he's not shown out, but he's been on a horrifically run franchise from all angles, really. So, you know, it's not been ideal for him. And, you know, the likes of Rancor, right? I mean, he's probably going to end up being the Rookie of the Year this year because there really isn't that much competition elsewhere. But, you know, he's one of the better players in the league. And he was not a name that people too much had on their radar. So there are some talents out there. I think we'll probably move in that direction where the likes of paulX are just going to have an increasingly difficult time making it back in. So he suggests maybe it's time for a new chapter. And I think this probably is the thing to do, to be honest, right? To say, look, I've had a good run of it in competitive COD multiplayer. Maybe it's time for something else. And he says next chapter, almost time, Warzone full time. So I think he'd kill it over there. Wish him the best regardless. But let's talk about some of this drama. We did have a quick follow-up yesterday because you guys, we talked about it last night. aBeZy with his take on the internet issues that some of the players have and saying that people are blaming it too much. And then last night we got another example. I thought it was brilliant. So Nastie tweets this out. I don't know if he saw the quote from aBeZy. Presumably he didn't, because otherwise he probably wouldn't have tweeted this. Because I did wonder in yesterday's video whether he was talking a bit about Surge, because they obviously have complained about internet a fair bit. And Nastie does it again. I just love loading up in Vancouver and scrimming on cable every day. So Beans decides to hit the instigation and he says at aBeZy, and then aBeZy's in the reply saying, oh, how cute life is. Isn't it just so hard? So, you know, anyway, I'm going to leave it there. We talked about that in detail yesterday. The big drama I wanted to get into, though, was this. So the COD League did a tweet yesterday, and they put the comms out of OpTic Texas before and after the roster change. Now, on some level, this is good content, right? Like, it's certainly interesting content. If we had done it at breaking point, I mean, people would have said it's a bit strange, and certainly I think it's a little bit interesting from the league's perspective, but also we can't do this content because we don't have access to the comms, right? These are comms that the CDL have access to, and they decided to put together a little video comparing the comms in both moments. And effectively, I mean, I don't want to say they've cherry-picked it, because obviously they're having a much better time now than they were before. But on some level, like, there is a bit of cherry-picking here, right? Because they're comparing the comms of them winning maps and winning series and stuff like that with the new team, with Huke and Skyz in, compared to their old team with Prin and Kenny looking pretty miserable the entire time. And look, it's interesting content for sure. The question is this a bit unfair? Is this a bit out of pocket, right?
Go, let's go.
Let's get it, though.
Come on.
Good, man. Come on, man.
Get it. Hey, the air fist bump.
Oh, yeah, let's get a car. Yes, sir, man.
Get it, guy. Come on. A little fit, not too crazy.
Yeah, you guys are hitting, bro. Get fit.
Oh my god, bro. That might have been the fakest match I ever played in my life.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go,
baby.
Come on.
Thank God, I almost
Did I get an ace 5-5?
Woola. Hey, Woola.
No, I know you think I got an ace. I got
Woola, I almost chucked that. Woola.
Bro, think.
Yo, let's run them, bro.
Yes, sir. I want a fast day. Oh.
That's it.
I like that.
Yeah, I was playing a ultra quick quarter.
User disconnected from your channel.
Oh my god! Nice. Good shit.
That's a big win, bro. That's a big win.
Bro, why? Bro. Did you guys see what the COD League tweeted? Why would they tweet that? But before and after the roster change, and it's like, just like comms with our old team to like our team now. Why would they do that? What? I'm not gonna lie, they're fucking weird. Nah, low key, nah, I'm not gonna lie, nah, they're fucking weird for that. He said, nah, I'm not gonna say that. Oh, they're so weird for that. What? Nah, I'm not, that is some weird shit.
So Shotzzy, I think, understandably, not very happy with this and being like, you know, the CDL's just hella weird for that. Now, like, from my perspective, from like a content perspective, I don't really see too much issue with this personally, right? I mean, look, they gained some serious impressions. People were in the replies, people were liking the tweet, people were replying, people were quote tweeting it. You know, maybe that's what it's all about. Like, from my angle, I don't really see an issue with the content itself. I think it's more the context around the fact that the league are the ones that made it. I think that's the point, really. And that, you know, they've obviously made it, they've got their impressions, so they're standing by it. And look, we want the league to grow, and I think stuff like this isn't really a problem from that angle. If I was a player, I totally get it, but my perspective is like, look, the more content we make that's either controversial or not, which gains interest and gets people talking, I think it's better for it to be out there than it's not. Whether it's good or bad, like, for what the teams think, you know, that is a different question. You guys might remember when, I think it was OpTic versus FaZe, this is Cold War, they played a Miami Search and Destroy. It might have been the one that OpTic got slammed in and Scump decided to never play the map again. Whatever it was, they put out a comms video of the Search and Destroy, and OpTic were not happy, but neither team, to be fair, they weren't happy about it at all because, you know, their comms were being put out there publicly, and, you know, that was something that they felt was a bit too far. This seems to be a grey area that the CDL are happy to exploit, and I would prefer the league to make more content rather than less, but still, I can totally understand why some people think this is too far, especially when it does feel like the league like rags on OpTic a lot. I don't know if you wanna put it that way, but it does kind of feel like that at times. I mean, I think this was even the case this season as well, but I just had a quick look up to see if there were any FlopTic graphics I could easily find. This was one from last year. I think this is last year's World Championship, right? It says locked in or FlopTic. And I think even this year when OpTic was struggling, they had a graphic that came up on the broadcast that said like FlopTic Gaming or something. And it's, you know, like, I know that some people look at it and they say, is that a little bit, you know, are we getting a bit into the territory of being a little biased in the discussions? Possibly. I mean, there was also this recently where the COD League are tweeting out Gwinn to net, right? Which is, look, again, I don't really have an issue with it. As a fan of the scene, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's, you know, more entertainment, the better. The more people talking about COD, the better, whether that's for good or for bad reasons. That's my personal opinion. But if I was a player, or like or if I was a like real hot fan of one team, let's say, then I totally understand the argument to say, is this getting a little bit interesting? I know that it reminded some of the kind of famous "we are witnessing a breakdown" discussion between Rocker and Scum. I still can't believe this reply from Scum. I just think it's absolutely hilarious. Probably my favourite copy pasta in the history of COD, and there are plenty of good ones. But yeah, if you guys didn't see this time, then I don't know, I made a video on it at the time, I'm sure. Feel free to go back and enjoy. What do you guys think about this stuff in the comment section below, right? Because totally understand why Shotzzy's frustrated, and it's definitely causing a bit of a debate. I mean, when I saw this tweet initially, I genuinely did think, okay, you know what, maybe they will go on to delete this, but no, they've not done it. It stays up there, and the COD League are gonna collect their impressions, and they're gonna collect a lot of well, hate in the replies, I suppose. But maybe that's, you know, what it's all about at the end of the day. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Just one final thing. Tickets are now on sale for the Miami Heretics Major 3 in Boca Raton. If you guys want to get 30% off your tickets, use code BreakingPoint30. So all the relevant links will be either in the replies to this tweet, or I'll chuck what I can in the description box below as always. So yeah, hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.